The excellent story continued this week in Destiny 2, although with less explosive developments. Well, today I'm going to have a look at all the narrative pieces from week 5 of Season of the Splicer, and we're going to hear from Mithrax, Ikora, Saint-14, Lakshmi-2 and also Osiris. Well, if you're new around here or find this useful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Destiny 2 content and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. Or to access the story content in the game in Season of the Splicer, head down to the Helm, interact with the Path of the Splicer 5 quest. Well, first of all, we have a chat with Mithrax through the Splicer servitor. So let's check it out.
I greet you in the light, my friend. There have been no more attacks from inside the walls. I spoke my heart words to all who would hear. We have no anger within us. We will not be led to violence, no matter how wide the path. We now must focus on the Vex. The machines do not stop to consider our situation, and neither should you. I can still improve your gauntlet, and your Splicer training must continue. Do not waste your energies on us. My Elixni have been through much, but cruel words and thoughtless deeds will not break us. Let us continue our work.
Well, Mithrax is clearly looking to put the events of the last week behind him. There's been no more attacks on the Elixni, plus he's been preaching peace to everyone, and focus should return to the Vex. And Mithrax is keen to continue the work to end the Endless Night and help us with our Splicer training. Well, next we get some story content after the Expunge mission, so let's check it out.
We succeed for a third time, and yet nothing has changed with the Endless Night. Why is that, Mithrax?
Each time the Guardian destroys a Vex mind in control of a domain, the remaining Vex carry the leftover burden.
And how many of these minds do you think are left to share that burden?
That is unclear.
Then we should focus our efforts on finding the central Vex mind guiding them. Osiris, how is that coming along?
Slowly. Lakshmi and Mithrax's splicers are diligently working with data the Guardian has recovered. But the Vex mind, at the source of the Endless Night, remains elusive.
We need to move quickly. The simulation is draining the city's energy. I won't stand by and watch our lightless civilians continue to suffer.
Ikora, I don't intend to let that happen.
We will work harder. We will find a way. The light provides.
Well, Ikora is questioning why nothing is happening with the Endless Night and questions Mithrax, and Ikora wants to focus on the Vex mind at the source of the Endless Night. Osiris says progress is going slow, and he continues to work with Lakshmi-2 on the data provided by the Guardian, and Ikora seems more frustrated than usual, but Mithrax's intentions do seem good. Osiris is still acting a little strangely, but he has turned it down a notch from last week. We're next going to see Saint-14, so let's hear what he had to say.
I have thought much on Mithrax's story. We do monstrous things to fight monsters. It seems simple then. When the city first formed, Titans were the walls. We did not think of our enemies when we fought. We thought only of protecting our people. Survival until the next day, no matter how. To be seen as a terror, a destroyer. To know children tremble in fear at my name and mourn what I have taken from them. This is not the Saint-14 I know. I can never forgive what the old houses did to us. But these are not the old houses. They are dead. What do we gain from more death? This lashing out against defenseless people, it is the act of a coward. Mithrax risked much to trust us. If his House of Light can forgive. Perhaps we must try to see the fallen, Elixni, as they see themselves. Or none of us will ever be anything but monsters. We must be more than the enemies of our enemies.
Well, Saint is clearly shaken from the story from Mithrax last week, where he was told a story from the perspective of the Elixni, with Saint painted as a monster, and I'll play that cutscene at the end if you missed it. Saint acknowledges things have clearly changed, and we need to see the Elixni as they see themselves. And Saint even corrects himself from calling them fallen to Elixni. And he ends with the quote, "We must be more than the enemies of our enemies." So this change of heart could be a blow to Lakshmi-2, as she was looking to Saint-14 as being a potential replacement for Zavala in their coup attempt in the last city. So finally we go and speak to Mithrax through the Splicer servitor, who tells a story of a child running and crying away from Saint-14. Well, let's check it out.
I see you have overcome the Vex again. We are both doing what we must. I have not spoken with the Saint, but I believe hearing my story softened him somehow. I saw one of our young run across his path. The Saint raised a hand in greeting, and the hatchling recoiled and fled. The Saint watched it run. The reaction seemed to wound him. I will reach out to this child. She acted out of fear and was unkind. She should know the image of the Saint we use to chase evil is only a story. If we are to survive this long night, we must be able to see one another as what we truly are.
Well, Saint, he seemed hurt by that encounter emotionally rather than physically, and his attitude seems to be changing week by week towards the Elixni, which must be a good thing. We also had a radio broadcast from Mithrax and Ikora this week, so let's check that one out too.
Elixni of the House Light, hear Mithrax now. I know many of you feared this place. You have seen death at the hands of the Guardians. It was right to expect death in their house. What I said, and say again, that if we help them, they will help us. And here we are, alive. It is true that some have attacked our new home. It is true that some try to share their hate with us. It is always so. But if Elixni feel darkness inside, only look up to see the great machine, and know that House of Light is blessed.
We're all blessed to have such friends in dark times. Humanity will not allow these hateful and ignorant acts to define us. We will prove it by bringing those responsible to justice.
Walk the path of hardship with joy in your hearts. Be brave.
Well, Ikora and Mithrax, they're clearly standing together and hopefully looking to calm the tensions in the last city. Well, finally this week we unlocked a new lore entry, so this one is focused on the confrontation between Lakshmi-2 and Ikora, and this one is from Beneath the Endless Night 6, Understanding. Ikora Ray strode into the future War Court headquarters. It had the air of a church, hushed and reverent, but the air of sanctity was undercut by the intrusion of Vex technology. Wires climbed like vines across the ceiling, and the air was filled with a faint smell of ozone. In the middle of the room, reclining on a seat reminiscent of both a throne and an operating table, was Lakshmi-2. Her face was obscured by a helmet that connected to a mess of wiring above. Studious cultists shuffled with their heads bowed, glancing suspiciously at Ikora. As the warlock advanced, the cultist held up a single finger, commanding both silence and patience. Ikora's eyes narrowed. The cultist whispered into a small microphone next to the device, and its sub-audible hum had been inconspicuous, but once it powered down, the quiet felt quite overwhelming to Ikora. Lakshmi sat in repose, presumably orientating herself in the current timeline. "Leave us," she said, without opening her eyes. "We'll resume at 14:25, and our subordinates filtered from the room, looking past Ikora as if she were invisible. Lakshmi finally opened her eyes and fixed them on the warlock. "I assume you're here to bargain." "I'm not." Ikora's tone was calm and cold. "I'm here to issue a warning of my own." "Warn me?" Lakshmi laughed, her voice thin. "If we have any further incidents on account of your incitement, I will personally find a remote icy moon to leave you on." Lakshmi tutted. Only small minds classify prophecy as provocation. She stood up and smoothed her garments. "Certainty in the face of the unknown is the provenance of zealots." Ikora eyed the device. "And the insane. This isn't a debate." "And yet you are still here. Come, Ikora, you have not seen what I have." And Lakshmi gestured to the device. "The Botsa district under assault for a second time, Saint-14 pinned down by gunfire, and you," she trailed off, "screaming for help over comms." "How many of your prophecies have gone unfulfilled, Lakshmi?" Ikora snapped. "I wish you could hear yourself. How afraid you sound." "All those years studying under Osiris, and you still so naive," Lakshmi replied. Ikora's anger flared, and she advanced on the cult leader. "Cut the BS, or suffer the consequences. Understand?" Undaunted, Lakshmi's artificial eyes shone bright. "Understood." Ikora stepped back and let her anger pass out of her with a sigh. "Then we're done here." She turned on her heels and strode out. And as she left, Ikora wondered whose prophecy she had just fulfilled, Lakshmi's or her own. Well, really interesting stuff there from the lore, and it's been a much quieter week this week, with Saint-14 reflecting on the story from Mithrax, and it's going to be interesting to see how Lakshmi reacts to the dressing down from Ikora next week, and if she decides to approach Saint-14. We're still moving towards some big moves within the last city, and there's definitely going to be a confrontation. This week, Lakshmi is quite specific in her predictions, mentioning the Botsa district under assault, which is the area where the Elixni quarters are at the moment. And this is the former boss area from the Scourge of the Past raid, so we could be leading up to a battle there at some point in the future. But for now, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens next week. Well, let me know down in the comments what you think of Week 5 story content and what you think is going to happen next. And as always, thank you so much for watching. For more Destiny 2 content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. If you want to join the community, check out the Discord link in the description, or you can follow me on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.
Once, in a city grander even than yours, we prospered. But it did not last. Our great machine abandoned us. And when we pursued it, you sent something back. A creature fueled by hatred. It tore through our great houses like they were nothing. And then it came for the rest of us. Nowhere was safe from its insatiable rage. In its eyes, even the most innocent of Elixni were still fallen. It could die, but it would not stay dead. It would shake off the rot and rise again. And if it caught you in its crushing embrace, impaled you on its ragged crest, dragged you screaming into its foul shell, none live to speak of these horrors. It called itself must now see the creature every day. It sees us. If we wish to survive, we must all learn to live alongside our monsters.